Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It's Well Red Beard. It's a damn fine day to talk about a book. We're here for a book review, and today we're talking about Unplugged by J.B. Taylor. This is a science fiction dystopian cyberpunk book. That's I read Steve Stredd's review of it, and he said that's what JB identified it as. I'm not really familiar with cyberpunk. I don't really know what that means. I could Google it, but I'm lazy. But yeah, I just don't do a lot of science fiction. And if you follow me, you probably assume that I'm pretty firmly a horror guy. I mean, I get a lot of horror. I mean, a lot of books to review. So that's why I do a lot of horror. I mean, it is my genre of choice. I mean, when I was a kid and I was making choices on what I was reading, it was definitely heavily horror. But anyway, so the point is I don't do a ton of science fiction. I also did this one in audiobook, which I'm also on record saying that I'm not very good with audiobooks. But we'll circle back to that stuff. The prologue, the year 2024. Zendaya Fernwood was caged, trapped in a world in which she didn't belong. But Zendaya had a secret. She knew how to get out, how to unplug. So there's been this war, humans against machines, right? And the machines have taken over, and they've built this construct, this fake reality, this vivarium, and humans are in this world, and very few of them ever get out, ever get the opportunity to unplug. Zendaya is she's a police officer in this fake reality, but she's got some history. She has basically lived like 16 lives in the vivarium. She has found, like, every time she's reinserted, she's back on the path to find a way out. And no one can really understand why. The humans can't and the machines can't. And so she is a special person in this situation. So the vivarium, you got to feel of the Matrix there, machines versus humans. You got to feel of Terminator. There's also some don't get me wrong, it has nothing to do with the Hunger Games, but there are some elements that made me think of it, like when Zendaya does get out, and there's like this rallying point with like other free humans or other rebel humans, and that felt like when what was it, like District 13 or whatever, when oh hell, I don't even know the character's name. Katniss, when Katniss, was pulled out of, like, we thought it was like what, District 1 through 12, and District 13 is like where all the rebels lived or whatever. It felt like that rallying point, and then there's also a bit of like games, like a Coliseum type situation. Humans fighting situations to the death. So of course that kind of brought that up too. So there's a lot going on. One thing for me that I don't know that JB does it poorly. I'm just going to make an example here. Books where your main character's name changes like halfway through the book. For me, I had a lot of trouble with that. Like, it took me a while to catch on. And I think that was audio, because our main character, Zendaya, that is her vivarium identity. That's her vivarium name. I think she actually refers to it as her slave name at some point. And so when she pulls out for this 16th time or whatever, she changed her name. So it changes the name for us. So I had a bit of an issue there. But I caught on. I'm just saying I don't know that I've read very many books where your character's name changes. It has happened. Just something, that I wanted to bring up. So for me, this was kind of slow burn, kind of slow build. It took me a while to get into it. I read Wayne Finland's review of this too, and he said that on the first read, he got through 80 pages of it and he stopped. He just wasn't in the right headspace. And again, for me, combo science fiction and audiobook, I did, struggle to follow along some. What I'll tell you though is at the end there's some payoff here. I really enjoyed the ending of this book, the way things kind of turned around. I mean, I love when a book does that. And my biggest My biggest example of that is probably Matheson's I Am Legend, and not the film, the book, where at the end of it, you're kind of left questioning, well, who's wrong and who's right here? I mean, if you're the only holdout, if you're the if you're the, I mean, if you're saying we're all monsters, but there's thousands of us, and you're the holdout, the human, who is the monster? And we kind of get a view of that in this book at the end, where we're talking about um, the human versus machine side. So the machine, they said, we kind of let you get to a certain point. Like even when the war started with machines, we kind of just held back and stayed within those Asimov parameters. Look that up, but stayed within those parameters as much as possible to not harm human life. I mean, it's tough to have a war and not do that, right? But on some level, and then eventually they just decided, they bypassed those parameters and decided to take over. At the end of this, our main character, who changed her name to Ashlyn, so it sounds like Ashlyn on the audio. In here, it looks like Iceland. I'm gonna call her Ashlyn though. But you come down to a single human versus a single machine type thing, like the I don't care what it's called, the All Father, the it tells us at the very end of the book here, or not the very end, but the last section, the Honorable Father, and there's a lot of conversation, but there's a lot of thought. There's a lot of making you think. Like for example, there's one part where the machine is telling her about the history of what happened, like how the machines took over, why they took over, what they were trying to do, and she said that's not the way our histories tell us. That's not what we're told by our histories, and it kind of goes into this thing. And I clipped it on my phone, but it just didn't save right. But humans have a history of whitewashing history, right? Of writing history the way they want it to be told. And I just found that very, I guess, poignant, with what's going on with the critical race theory stuff and things like that. But there's one line in here where it kind of talks about fighting, and she's talking to the honorable All Father, and because it was a lie, Ashlyn replied without hesitation, "Is it not better than what exists beyond my walls?" Hold on, kind of messed that up, but anyway, so it basically goes on to tell us that 29% is scorched earth, evaporated by nuclear fire. Little food is left, scant animal life. Few humans remain uncaught. Why fight to keep that? And Ashlyn replies, because what's left is ours. So what's left after all this, that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, that scorched earth, that scant animal and vegetation, that's not the machines that did that. We did that, through nuclear war and climate change denial, and things like that. So just very, very kind of cool the way things came together, and the reasoning on how we got here, how we got to this place of basically an enslaved human race, the vivarium, and there being legitimate reasons for that, and having the I guess forcing me to kind of look within and kind of reflect, right, on the way things are, and why they are the way they are, because we're I don't know, current events make me question a lot of things about humanity, I guess, in general, and I found this to be kind of a cool twist up on it. There were a couple other little bits that I saved, and it was all really in the last part. Like I really got invested at the end, which I know is not that's not necessarily the best thing to say, but there's one part where he the the machine, the robot, the honorable father says something, and she looks at him, or she says, "That's very human and very male of you." I dug that part. And then another little reference in the epilogue that it always seems impossible until it's done. Nelson Mandela. There were parts I really really liked at the end, I guess is the point I'm trying to say. So I've talked a lot. I've rambled a lot. I enjoyed the book. First of all, I mean, JB's a cool guy. I follow him out on Twitter. Um, it's a science fiction book, which again, I'm not great with. It's got two realities, and our character exists, completely different ways in those two realities. I mean, we spend a lot of time up front on Vivarium police work, right? Of the flock, and there's like some faked or possibly faked drug tests going on with, and there's just a lot of stuff that we that winds up, I guess, not meaning as much as you think that it might. And then you've got the audio piece, which again, I'm horrible at audiobooks, and I've said it before, I've gotten better. When I started trying to do audiobooks, the reason was because I didn't want to waste any time. So if I was doing something where it was low involvement, then I had time to focus, but I didn't have time to physically read, washing dishes, doing laundry, taking a shower, or whatever, driving. Then I wanted to try to do audiobooks. And so I got into like nonfiction stuff. Like I did things like Columbine, the idea being I knew the story, not all of it, but I knew the gist. And so if I missed a few things, not a big deal. Did some satire and like comedy stuff. And then I kind of let myself start branching out into fiction. And I'm doing all right with it. But a heavy, deep, character-driven science fiction novel might have not been the perfect thing for me to take on. But the point is I got all the way through it. The book really came together for me at the end. Like I really enjoyed the ending. And I think that any negatives that I really have to say about it would be more personal preference, not a huge science fiction reader, and personal failure, I guess, as far as the audiobook thing goes. So, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I mean, I think that, science fiction readers will love it. I mean, again, not necessarily my cup of tea, but I will say that I'm excited to see what happens next. There's going to be another volume of this, and so I am invested. But I think I'm at 3 stars, and that's it. Science fiction. If you follow me, but you kind of lean science fiction, you definitely be interested in this. Like I said, Matrix, Terminator, machines versus humans, Asimov, a lot of Foundation, a lot of Asimov references and topics and elements here. So so that's it. This is Well Red Beard. This has been Unplugged by JB Taylor. I hope you enjoyed my review. I hope you're enjoying all your books as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.